Greetings, beautiful souls. This is Bevan Neiman Cortez. I am the host of the upcoming community, the Personal Power Collective Power Space. And we begin on Saturday, July 19th, so coming up soon. But I'll tell you a little bit more about that after we have this conversation about a topic that came up this morning with my husband Juan and I. And it just started to emerge from all that I've been watching in the collective right now. And I'm sure that you've been kind of watching some things to the extent of your capacity, right? Like we can get pretty burnt out as empaths, HSPs, in seeing so much chaos, drama, depravity. And sometimes we need to take a break, right? So we're going to get together here for just a few minutes and take a break from all of that and kind of step back for a moment into a higher viewpoint. And that is that, you know, every decision that every human makes on the planet affects other humans, affects animals, plants, our environment. Every single decision that we make matters. So that could feel like a huge burden, a huge responsibility, or it could feel like a sense of accountability that I feel that we are sorely lacking, especially with our leaders at this point. And it just seems that if people are going to make decisions, and we have lots of decisions that we have to make in life. We have decisions about, perhaps where to go to college or where to get extra training, who to date and maybe who to marry, or whether, you want to choose to be single. We choose identities, we choose political parties, we choose so many things in life. We choose the things that we buy, for example, and all of that has a downstream. It has what did they call it during the pandemic? The supply chain. And, everything that we choose, everything we're choosing has a supply chain. There are people behind all of that who are impacted by this decision or that decision. And really what we seem to be coming to right now, my friends, is some people, just a very small number of people, making decisions that primarily benefit a very small number of ultra wealthy people, mostly male, mostly white, mostly identify as Christian. They feel that the decisions that they're making, they deserve to have a better life or life at all than other people, right? And the othering is what is causing us to be so divided. And they're using the othering to split us, to have us arguing on the internet, to have us arguing in the streets or worse. And so I felt that it was really important to choose a rune to get on and have this conversation, because this is really, my friends, about personal accountability. And then what do we do when other people lack personal accountability, or they protect each other so they don't have to have personal accountability? Where do we go as a species? What happens to us? And so let's really tune in to this rune that I chose. And here, I'll show it to you so you can get a better sense. Let me make sure you can see that. It's a little glowy, which is kind of cool, right? So it's interesting because it actually reminds me of a pitchfork. And, there's a place in history and cycles that we've repeated over and over where leaders, a small number of leaders, were very narcissistic, selfish, greedy. And then people came with the pitchforks, with the torches. And we laugh about it a little bit. We're like, yeah, we're coming into pitchfork territory. But there rings a truth to that, my friends. And I think that's why we're seeing so many people in the street, people actually physically putting their bodies on the line, because it's getting to the point where some of that may actually have to happen. And I am a lifelong pacifist. I don't condone violence in any way, but I also am realistic in thinking that it's probably going to be the way that this is solved, unfortunately. And I wish that we could break this cycle as a collective. I have wished that since I was a child, and I have worked towards that in many different ways and forms throughout my life. And it's probably true for you as well, that you have been really passionate about maybe nuclear proliferation, or peace, talking about peace treaties or international days of peace, and collaboration with other countries rather than competition. And I think this is just going to be a turning point for us. Like, will we, as a human species, as individuals, and as our leaders, will we hold ourselves accountable and each other? Will we be responsible for the consequences of our actions? If I choose to eat something, what I'm choosing has actual consequences to my body. And so everything we do has consequences. And so let's look at this rune. I have the booklet because I'm still learning this alphabet. It's really fascinating, some of the history about it. This is Runes Unlock the Secret of the Stones. I'm trying to see who created it. It looks like a company called Running Press. Um, but there are many types of runes that you can get, or you can even make your own. And this alphabet, as I understand it, was made with branches or sticks, and therefore they just did straight lines. So everything in the alphabet has straight lines. This is the algiz, which is the letter Z, zeta in Spanish. The meaning or the spirit animal is elk, right? So when we think about an elk, we think about a very powerful animal with like large horns. And of course, they are a prey animal. There are predators, but it's very difficult for a predator to take down an elk. And so an elk is very strong. It's very firm. It's a very grounded. It has 4 feet on the ground, right? Um, and yet, it's more peaceful. It's wandering around, grazing. But if you mess with it, you're not going to be happy about that situation. And so the associations with this particular rune for this time are protection, awakening, awakening. There are so many people who, because of some of the really difficult and hateful and racist, sexist, homophobic, transphobic things that we're seeing go on out there, there are many people awakening and going, wait a minute, I didn't want this. And we might be angry with them because like they chose that before and it has a consequence for all of us. But I think we also need to welcome those people and say, come on in. If you are having a change of heart, we'll take everyone who has a change of heart. We'll take everyone who wants to be on the right side of history. We're not going to turn people away. Should we hold people accountable for their voting, for their actions, for their hatred, racism? Absolutely, 100%. But there is an awakening, and a lot of this is a catalyst for that. So in the past, when we went through a dark ages, when there was a pandemic, the Black Plague, and there was, a dark age over Europe, and other places as well. There was a depression, there was poverty, people in the streets. It was very, very difficult. Now we're doing it with more like technology, but still in other places besides sort of the West, if you will. There are people still experiencing that, still living in tents, still walking 4 hours just to get, some dirty water to bring back to their family because they can't survive without it. So, we are not out of the woods, my friends, as an entire species. We're having an awakening to globalism. And there is a lashback against globalism, which is nationalism, which is sort of like national pride and territorialism and some of the lashback that we're seeing here. But really, in effect, the internet connected humanity in a way that is never going to be taken back. Like, even if we lost it, we would still have an understanding that, wow, look, there are all these other people with other cultures, and social media apps have opened all of that up. And really, you can't put that back in the bottle. Once people start to talk with each other and actually realize this is another human being, and gosh, they want pretty much the same things that I do, and why is my government telling me this is my enemy when they're not my enemy? And so there's a lot of things coming up to the surface, a lot of digging up of old stuff, and revisiting that, and really like exposing truths about what's happening and who's leading us and what their motivations are. So it is a good thing, even though this is a really, really hard time. It says shield, defense. So a lot of us who can sense and feel this energy and are trying not to be a sponge, right? So we kind of have our shield up right now. We're doing a little bit of hermit mode. And you know what? I say do what you need to do to ensure that you are safe and cared for, and that are able to fight another day, like rest and do what needs to happen in your life. But this is also, this rune, the elk rune, is connected to higher life. So if we think about those antlers, like antennae, right? Stretching up and receiving higher knowledge and wisdom from your higher self, from angels, from spirit guides, from God, Allah, whatever you choose to call that. Connection, right? Connection, spiritual connection. So, while we are kind of mired in this earthly plane and everything that's happening with it, um, we also are invited to continue to have that part of us connected and transcended. Because without that remembering of who we are, without that connection to spirit source, um, it doesn't feel like we can actually accomplish something here on the earth plane. It feels very debilitating. It feels extremely overwhelming. It feels like there's this wave of hatred and separatism and tribalism. And like, how in the world could we ever stop that? And the answer to that is remain grounded, have your feet on the ground, while also tapping in to that part of yourself that is extremely powerful, right? And we may not want to feel like powerful, because sometimes feeling powerful makes you a target. Sometimes feeling powerful loses you friends or family members or a job or whatever it may be. And yet we keep stepping into that. We keep holding our sacred presence, just like I'm doing right now. I'm looking right at you. I am holding my presence. I am holding my shoulders high. I am holding my head high. I am acknowledging my personal sovereignty, not because I want to control other people. I don't even want to control myself, because who I am is beautiful inside. And I don't have to micromanage me either. So this is the thing about, like, we're not controlling internally. We're not trying to lock down and manage ourselves. We're listening to what comes up from within, what voices are speaking, what image you're getting in your mind, what sensations you're feeling in your body, and loving all parts of ourselves and caring for ourselves. Just taking time to breathe. Ooh, my back popped. There's some tension release. I mean, just a simple moment like that. helps us get grounded and centered, and pulls that energy through that vertical orientation where we receive not only divine energy, but we pull energy from the earth, and not because we're using it or we're taking. The earth offers us this energy, those who are here, to channel that into practical action to make things better in one small area of our planet. That's all that we're asking. It's all that we're called to. Mentor one person. Adopt one child. I saw a man in Uganda last night on the internet who, even though he was barely making it himself, he started taking in orphan children, and he created an orphanage. Now he has 30 children that he is teaching through dance. They are going to school, they're having food and water. They were living on the streets, and he decided to do this. And for those 30 children, can you imagine? Getting so choked up. Can you imagine how many people those 30 children will then impact? So you don't have to do what that man is doing. You get to do what you are doing, whether you're writing poetry, whether you are speaking on stages, whether you are working for a nonprofit organization that you are so passionate about their cause. Whatever way that you are expressing and shining your essence, that's what this 9-month Sacred Leadership Activator is all about, is gathering with other very tuned in souls who are also stepping into leadership and have ideas and passion projects that they'd really like to bring into the world. And we are going to gather together and provide support for each other, sisterhood, during a time of deep chaos. We are going to provide a safe space for protection, higher wisdom, connection, and our personal and collective power. So if this really resonates with you, if you're really stepping into that point in your life where you're like, I am 100% responsible for my life, my choices, my actions. Yes, there are external things that happen that we have no control over. But what you do and how you respond is your power. And we're working on this together. We have one live call every month where we can connect and have these beautiful tapestries of conversations. It's just an incredible experience to listen to sensitive leaders connect in this way. And then every week, coming right into your email inbox, I will send a teaching, a new moon reading, a full moon reading, a tool, a practice, and you will have access to those, going forward, even after the program is finished. Love to have you join us. So there's only a couple of weeks. There is an application process, and I do ask you to sit down with me for a short, no pressure chat, just to get to know each other, to talk about what your goals are, what your dreams are. Even if you want to whisper it to me, it's fine. And then, we assess together whether we feel like this is a good fit, and it's okay if it's not. So I'd love to talk with you. We start on Saturday, July 19th. Come on in. You can already start receiving the weekly tools and practices that I'm sending out for those who've already joined. We'd love to have you be a part of the personal power, collective power community so that we transmute leadership. We make conscious leadership the norm, not the exception.